The Washington Post reports that Germany is perplexed as President Trump escalates his feud with Berlin. Tensions emerged between Mr. Trump and Chancellor Angela Merkel during his overseas trip last week after the G7 and NATO meetings. Merkel said that Europe could no longer rely on others, apparently meaning the United States. Well, President Trump escalated that feud yesterday by tweeting, quote, "We have a massive trade deficit with Germany, very bad for U.S. This will change."
Merkel tried to ease the dispute yesterday by saying transatlantic relations are of paramount importance. Lionel Barber is the editor of the Financial Times, and we're pleased to have him with us this morning. Lionel, good morning.
Morning, Charlie.
Let's begin with what the report and the news reports that President Trump plans to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. What are the implications of that for the United States, for the world, and for Europe?
If President Trump indeed is going to pull out of the Paris Accords, which, remember, this treaty was ratified. It's been backed by the major countries, including China and India, as well as the Europeans. This is a big move. This is America first in caps, and it's not going to go down well amongst allies. They will look at America and say, why are you pulling out when big business, companies like Exxon, is backing the deal?
Will it be seen as abdicating leadership in the world?
Well, it's not just abdicating leadership. It's actually just going unilateral and pulling yourself out when other countries, the big polluters, countries like, I mean, it's particularly important, China, actually signed up. So why storm out of the tent? We don't get it.
And India as well signed up as well, one of the other great polluters. And the idea that climate change is a threat to U.S. national security.
Well, climate change is still disputed among scientists, but on balance, given the risks, you'd say, why not? Why take the risk of not trying to do something to tackle it? Remember, more than 20 years ago, George Bush refused to sign the Kyoto Accord. Again, but that accord did not include China. And second, the Senate was massively against, more than 95 votes. This is not the case today. There was a big consensus behind Paris.
Well, does this enhance China's leadership in China's?
Well, if you put it on top of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which, again, President Trump pulled out of, that again seeds the ground to China. And that's going to worry a lot of people, not just in Europe, but also in Asia.
I'm struck by your comments about America first in caps, because Trump administration officials have said America first does not mean America alone. What message do you think this sends, though?
Well, it will be America alone, because nobody else of any significance intends to pull out of the Paris Treaty. There may be even some questions about sanctions. We'll have to see that, because remember, America signed up to this deal. I think more important, you have to look at the way Mr. Trump and many people in his administration look at foreign policy. It's a zero-sum game. It's purely transactional. We don't want to do anything multilateral, or anything that Barack Obama did is we're not going to do it, we're going to unpick. The problem with that, if you go purely bilateral, what kind of signal does that send to big players like Russia and China if it's just a zero-sum world?
And what about the tension emerging now between the United States and Germany?
Well, I think here I would say that President Trump does have some important points. Germany's current account surplus is way too high. It's got 50 billion, that's trade surplus with the United States. Similarly, Germany is not committing enough money to the NATO alliance. But the way he's going about it, I would argue, particularly given a German general election campaign, is totally counterproductive.
But you've also said to me last night on the PBS program that you think President Trump, by the actions he took in Europe and what he said in Europe and what he's doing now, reportedly, will unite Europe.
I think there was a great, many commentators thought that last year when we had Brexit and then Donald Trump's victory, that this would be like a populist virus spreading throughout Europe. And you'd see the beginnings of the end of the European Union. Actually, what's happened, it's not a virus, it's an antidote. Europeans are actually getting closer. On the back of Emmanuel Macron's victory in France, I think in the next few months, and the more America appears to be going alone, then you will see greater European unity. We don't want to build Europe against America, but America is forcing Europe to unify.
All right,
Thank you,
Lionel Barber.
Great to see you.
More to come for sure. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.